right, folks, welcome in to another great episode of I've Got a Theory. I'm your host, Henish. I'm joined by Jonesy, who's a writer, actor, producer, and host of the podcast Weird AF News. Super excited to have you on. I think we're going to have some fun. Welcome on.
Thank you so much. I like how you intro that it's another great episode, and let's hope we live up to that. That's a lot of pressure to put on me, but I'll do my best to make this great. I will do it. I will do it until it's great.
For sure. And I've heard that, like, especially for comedians, you don't want to like give them such a great intro that they're like, well, crap, there goes my thunder. Cause I was kind of hoping to get in with that first hit of my punchline. And then the intro kind of killed it, but I wasn't trying to talk you up too much because, I didn't say you were Tom Cruise. Shit.
Yeah. I just, a comedian buddy of mine who I get coffee with, we just, he reminded me, I didn't know this was, or I had forgotten that if you're doing shows in the UK, they don't want you to introduce the comedian by giving their television credits, because it makes the crowd kind of go, oh, huh. He thinks he's better than us, or she thinks she's better than us. Yeah.
Well, then, and also you think you know the person, and then all of a sudden, Danny Tanner from Full House turns into Bob Saget making these jokes that you did not expect coming out.
Yeah. So for your listeners, if they're not aware, Bob Saget plays a very, wee television dad, like a old boy, like a Ned Flanders. And then his stand-up comedies is edgy and dirty. And, people don't expect that at all.
Right. So that's the case where if you give the intro, that's what you're expecting. Like, oh, I'm gonna get some dad jokes out of this.
But you would expect, right? You got to, oh, yay, dad jokes. Safe for grandma. No, not safe for grandma.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
Yeah, so it's kind of one of those things. So there's no expectations. The guy shows up called Bob Saget. You don't know he's Danny Tanner, and you're going to get an R-rated show.
I think this episode is safe for grandma, though. Yeah, we'll be good. So if you're a grandma and you're listening, keep listening. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. I promise not to go off the rails today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on Weird AF News, you do cover some things that are a little bit more squeamish.
Yeah, it's weird news. So I like the strange, the kinky, the outre, as they say. It's not your mainstream news, but
it's a little bit more unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a little unbelievable. But most of the stories are true. Occasionally a fake story has squeaked through. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I've done 900 episodes, so it's going to happen. And I would say that it's actually pretty wholesome. It can be listened to by just about anybody. I really don't swear much, and I don't cover stories that don't have at least a flavor of humor. Like I don't, someone sent me an article recently, like, hey, you should cover this. As the story came out this week, somebody kills a family, eats the heart of one of the family members. It's just like, I'm not going to, yes, that's weird, but it's not suitable for what I do. I don't want
It's hard to make a joke off that.
You can't really joke about that. It's horrific. Yeah. I don't even want to give a story like that. I don't even want to spread stories like that because it's like spreading panic and fear. And I'm not into that at all. And I want people to come away from Weird AF News after you've already been stressed listening to mainstream news. Then you listen to my news and you kind of get a laugh. Oh, weird. People do weird things in the world. Or there's a lot of dumb human behavior I cover as well.
For sure.
On Fridays, I only do news out of Florida. So that's a lot of dumb behavior. And then you can walk away with like, and you get a laugh out of it and feel good about it. And I always say it's a nice remedy for mainstream news, which is very depressing. I try to keep Weird AF News funny and lighthearted if I can. Yeah.
I like that because people need that, because last thing you need is yet another COVID update or yet another stimulus bill update or yet another political update. Like that's
correct.
The worst.
But of course, I've done COVID stories, but it's been like, it's stories such as, in Indonesia, they hired a team of people to hide in the bushes or behind trees and scare people that were out after quarantine. So, they put on ghost masks and whatnot. So they scare you. So it was a sort of a little deterrent that they experimented with to keep people from going out after 8 o'clock. So they would scare the shit out of them, which is a better thing to try than just to beating them in a prison. I like that as
For
well.
sure. I mean, I guess it's comparable to our Karens that come out and scold you for being out.
Yeah,
Without a mask on
same kind of thing. They just have
Yeah.
a Karen. That would have been great. They should have done that. Just a whole team of Karens that come out and be like, "What are you doing out here, huh? I'm telling on you.
Don't you know there's a pandemic?"
Yeah. Where's your mask? Why isn't it covering your nose? Yeah. So I mean, of course, I covered COVID stories. It's in 2020. It was hard not to, but I always try to keep it like weird stuff like that, just to give your listeners a flavor of what Weird AF News is.
Yeah, I like it.
It's a good feeling, and it is safe for grandmas. I don't swear very much, which has been a challenge for me because I am from Boston, and we always drop F-bombs in Boston. But I had to come to the realization, and I'm sure you already know this because you host a podcast, that a lot of people are listening to podcasts on their smart speakers, which means there's going to be some collateral damage. There's going to be innocent people that can be hit with shrapnel. So like maybe you got some kids at home. So I don't want me to be like, F this, F that. And you got kids running around in your living room and they hear that because you're listening it to on your Alexa or something. Yeah. So I try and keep that in mind. More and more people are listening on their smart speakers. So Weird AF News, I try to make fun for the whole family.
Yeah, might as well.
In general.
So let me give you a little precursor of my show. So with my show, I like people to come on and tell me their theory, whatever it's based on, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be scientific. It could be a hypothesis. I get that I'm using the word theory loosely, right? I don't need this based in a scientific effort that you've done with studies. And I like people to be able to share that and see why it's important for people to be aware of it. What I'm really trying to spread is awareness of different ideas and different viewpoints, because I think it can be enriching for people if they understand that, hey, someone thinks differently than me. Maybe I agree, maybe I disagree. It doesn't matter. It's worthwhile considering someone else's viewpoint.
I love that. Providing a platform for dynamic ideas.
Yeah.
Novelty.
Imagine someone has things that they think about differently than you.
Yeah.
And I don't judge. I had a guy in here that was a flat earther, and I disagreed with his premise, but I was very respectful the entire time. And I listened to how and why it was important to him and why it was important that people believe. And I really got a lot of good juice out of him in terms of what the reasoning was.
Sure. I judged those people right away. Always. So you're a bigger man than me.
It was interesting to dig deep. It was interesting to dig deep. So if you get a chance to listen to that episode, you find out why there's this growing movement of flat earthers, because they do actually have a really nice message behind it.
I know the reason. The reason is poor public school education. That's what's going on in the United States. So that you get people with squirrely ideas that don't make sense and don't jive with reality. That's what's really going on.
For sure. They pull out a book and they're like, why don't they make a globe book? Why are books flat, just like the planet?
I can't get on board with flat earthers, just like I can't get on board with lizard people living underneath Los Angeles. It's all ridiculous cartoon epistemology, really, at this point.
Well, if you know any lizard people, please refer them to me, because I do want to respectfully interview them.
Oh, I know another comedian who believes that there's bases on the moon, like underneath the moon's surface. There's like aliens living underneath basements. I'm like, where do these people get these things? I mean, there's enough strange, weird entertainment out there you can go and watch yourself. You don't need to create it or join it as a member to live in a world of wow. I mean, we all played Dungeons and Dragons as kids, just me. And you can live out some fantasies in life. You don't have to go get the membership card and then. But you have to know that
it's different. It's different than reality, right?
Like you could
once you leave your basement, you realize you can't get out a card with powers and cast a spell on someone.
Yeah. I'm not sensitive to this weirdness. And you're a bigger person than me. You were polite about the flat earther. We are living in a society now, which I think is troublesome. This isn't my theory. This is just a fact. We are living in a culture now it's troublesome because we are relativism is what's happening, and people are now allowed to walk around with these ideas that don't really make sense because it's impolite for us to tell them that they're being idiots.
True.
And I think that's. For us, a group of us, that's great. And it shows that we're trying to mature as a culture in their way. Hey, wouldn't it be mature if we allow all ideas to flourish? Okay, but at the expense of what? Because let's bring out a better truth, maybe. And maybe we can mature in a better way where we say, hey, you're actually holding back progress here.
Yeah.
Maybe you know, maybe get this guy some education so that they don't have to walk around with these bad ideas in their head. And then because here's what happens: there's no restriction on procreation. So what does a flat earther do? Oh, they have little kids, and then they download their flat earth program onto the children. It's not their fault. And you know, honestly, they shouldn't be walking around with flat earth 2.0 in their brain. They're going to be made fun of at school. They're not going to get very far in life, as far as, you know, they probably won't get laid for a long time. So it puts them at a disadvantage. Why should that be allowed? So this all comes back to, should we allow people to walk around with stupid shit in their heads and to spread it? I disagree. I don't think it should be allowed, but you are a bigger man than me, and you gave.
Well, we're going down this rabbit hole. I mean, you know, keep this in mind. Like, they discuss this in school curriculums all the time. There's places like Texas, like other places in the South, where it's in the curriculum to teach that the Bible and God created the planet.
Correct.
And the universe.
Creationism.
And that's the fact. And that's a fact. It's not the theory. That's the fact of creationism.
Yes, there is a museum, a creationist museum. I forget what state it's in, maybe Utah or something.
So is that any different than thinking it's a flat earth? It's not much different, right? I mean, people are believing.
It's just as stupid, and it's just as anti-science.
Yeah.
Sure. You know, we have this thing called Occam's razor. All right. It's like, does anybody know what this is? Like, I think we've forgotten about this. The simplest explanation is always preferred.
Yep.
Okay, let's begin from there. First principles, and you know, and of course, arguing with the flat earther, arguing with a creationist, it's not going to get you anywhere, because what the thinker thinks, the thinker thinks, the prover proves.
For sure.
And I've talked to flat earthers, and then you say things like, well, what about the photos? And they go, Photoshop. Like, yeah. All right. Okay. All right.
Yeah, for sure. No, and I didn't want to take that tact, because I watched a few of these flat earth videos, and it was always just podcasts of the hosts just hammering the guests, saying you're wrong, you're dumb, and here's all the proof.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go that route.
Sure. And, you know, it doesn't benefit you, because they're going to shut down, right? You don't want that. You want to generate discussion. So you have to kind of treat it with kid gloves and very delicately. You know, the other thing that's a barrier to us telling these people to go away is the cost of production has come down. So now if you, in fact, if you probably Google flat earth documentary, you might come across a few, because it costs nothing to make a documentary these days.
Nope.
It costs nothing to put out a podcast. It costs nothing. You can be a publishing company yourself. You know, I think it used to be you had to have a lot of money to do these sorts of things. So if your truth was, in order for it to make the mainstream, it had to have a little bit of credibility. Of course, there was, you know, if you have enough money, you could just do away with that anyways, as we see with Scientology, which is another ridiculous ideology that has enough money to be their own publishing company. And they've been doing that for decades, which is unfortunate. They actually had a Super Bowl commercial this year. I don't know if you realize that. That should be not allowed.
What was the commercial? I missed that.
Oh yeah, it was the Scientology. They slip them in every Super Bowl. There's usually one Scientology commercial. So yeah, they've been doing that for a long time.
Which is a bizarre thing, because I'm deep into an L. Ron Hubbard book right now, right? He's the founder of Scientology. But this is just one of his science fiction books.
Yeah, he was a science fiction author.
It's a science fiction. It's like Battlefield Earth. It's about aliens and humans and the fights they're having. And I think he's on the record saying that he created all of this. Even his religion, he just manufactured it just for fun. I think he's on the record.
Well, it's more than manufacturing just for fun, man. It's for profit. I mean,
for profit.
It's pretty obvious that if you could get to the level of we have a Joel Osteen situation, you have a cult of personality. You can make a shit ton of money when you create a cult of personality.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy evaded taxes. This is no secret. The guy, registers his business or whatever, but it's like offshore. He's got a ship and he's evading taxes. I mean, to pretend that this wasn't all about money is just denial, but if you bring this up to Scientologists, they don't want to hear that.
Even the flat earthers, this dude before he became a flat earther and has tens of thousands of followers, and he does this full time, you won't believe what he did for a living. He sold solar panels.
All right.
On the fictional sun, because he doesn't believe the sun is a real thing.
Yeah, he doesn't believe the sun. I thought they believed the sun exists, but it was a lot closer
It's a lot closer. He thinks it's a light, and he said, "Really,
it's
really,
a
no one
light.
really knows
It's a
what it
light. Who
is.
changes the bulb? Did you ask him who changes the bulb?
It's a light. Yeah, it's God. God does all this.
God changes the bulb. And God's a man. Is that what we're dealing with too? Like,
we didn't get into the gender, the specifics of the God entity.
God is a guy,
but he has an app, and he's we're promoting this, but he's got a really good app, and it shows the plain Earth and the ring of Antarctica around it, and it shows how the sun and the moon work, and somewhat explains our time zones and stuff. And then underneath it, you can hit a question mark, and it pops up all of the questions that typically people ask when they have questions for a flat earther, and it brings up a whole playlist associated with that specific question of how to explain the aurora borealis, how to explain the moon landings, how to explain spaceships, how to explain Mars and our solar. So he's got videos that are deep into this thing. So again, anyways, let's get back on track, Jonesy.
Again, the cost of production. He made an app like that. So we need to teach everybody a new skill. The kids need to learn a new skill, and that is how to tell shit from Shinola. I don't know how we do that. That's another theory. What's
Shinola? Because I know it's a like a kitschy company out of Detroit that makes watches and bikes and stuff.
Yes. So Shinola was basically a shoe polish. So it looks like shit. It's brown.
Yeah.
Putty that so the old saying was telling shit from Shinola.
I never heard of that. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. There's like a company, I'm pretty sure it's called Shinola, out of Detroit that makes like hipster watches. Might be the same
company. Yeah. It could be the same company that's still kicking around. I don't know. It. Yeah, totally. It might still be kicking around. Shout out to Shinola if you're still around.
Well, you're killing their image there because you just told.
Well, I mean, they're very important and as we move forward in the information age, is to tell shit from Shinola. It's got to be.
Okay, Jonesy. So what's our theory? You asked me to watch this video, and I did, and I was like, I think you sent me the wrong video. But then that was the preface for your theory. So tell me more.
Well, tell your listeners what the video was I sent you exactly.
Okay, so he sent me the Kendo World Championships. So there's two guys with large chopsticks that chop away at each other, and then if they hit them in the head, you get a point.
These are swords.
Oh, it looked like they're wooden batons. They're supposed to represent swords.
They're supposed to represent swords, and they're made out of like, I don't know, rattan or something. So that you don't really cut somebody's face off.
For sure.
The swordsmen wear
face helmets.
They do wear a helmet.
Yeah.
But I believe and they have some light padding underneath their robes.
For sure.
So you couldn't really use a blade. But this comes from, you can tell when you watch it because this is a Japanese sport. Predominantly that this probably comes from samurai contests 100%. Back in the day when they would fight to the death or whatever. So kendo, they're striking each other. It's done in, like, if you can imagine the video I sent you, it's a tournament setting.
Yep.
And they're striking each other so fast with the sword, and certain strikes get points. So if you hit somebody in the shoulder, or you hit him in the head, or in the chin, or in the face, they will blow the whistle or whatever. They will stop the play. The referee has a flag, will raise the flag, and that person gets a point. I don't know. It's happening in Japanese, so I don't know exactly what the scoring is or what exactly they're.
You get a gist of it when they're cheering.
I don't know, but I don't know if a head strike is worth 2 and maybe a body's worth 1. I don't know how they're doing it.
Right.
But that's not important. The point is, this is a very fast sport. This is lightning fast, the way they're striking each other with the swords, and sometimes they're blocking it, and sometimes they're being hit. It is happening so fast that you can't, with the naked eye, really see the strikes.
They do the slow motions.
You have to see the slow motions, correct? Yeah. However, the referees clearly can see the strikes that are happening lightning fast.
Yeah,
they're clearly trained. They have a way better eye than I do, because I can't see the hits.
No.
I cannot see. I see just a blur of sword.
Have you seen this in person ever, or is it just on the video?
Never have. Never have. I've just seen it on video. I would love to see it in person or even participate. I have some enemies out there. Kidding, guys.
Get a cage match going.
So, I had the idea. These referees are very gifted, in my opinion, and I thought. I'm a big fan of the NBA, and I'm a big fan of NFL football. And
we need better refs, is what you're getting at.
And I don't believe the refs are up to snuff in these sports. In our fast contact sports, the refs are screwing it up. They can't tell when a foul really is a foul in basketball. They can't tell when it's a helmet-to-helmet hit in football. or if the player's leading with their helmet, they have to actually stop and go look at a slow motion replay, which slows these games down tremendously. And I hate it. And everybody watching hates it. How amazing would it be to have referees that could actually call these fouls, call these hits, illegal hits correctly without having to stop gameplay and watch a damn replay. So I don't know what kind of training these referees, these kendo referees have, but it would seem to me if we could pluck a few of these guys out of that sport, which they're probably not getting paid very much, give them a job in the NBA, give them a job in the NFL, and let's elevate the level of refereeing by using this skill that these Japanese men have over there, or women. I don't know if they're women referees as well. Perhaps there are. Whatever training they have over there for the kendo sport, that is just tremendous, and it could be so useful in our fast contact American sports that I think
love. You're right. I think you can get trained to see fast things slower, right? And prime example are baseball players. Like I'm not a good baseball player. I'm not even a good softball player. But when that slow pitch comes, I can usually hit the ball. But when I go to the batting cage, I'm like, let's try the fast pitch. And it comes at 70, which is slow.
I can't hit it.
It's past me when I'm like, I didn't even get a chance to move this.
I couldn't hit the 60, man. I couldn't. I did it recently. I know exactly. I'm a softball player now, but I came from the world of baseball.
Yeah.
And at the batting cages, I'll get in and hit some hardball, some baseballs, and I can hit 40, I can hit 50, but the 60 and up, I just can't do it. And I'm with you.
Practice.
I'm on the arc softball lifestyle right now.
Yeah, same. So it's got to take practice to see slower. And I think that you can train yourself to do that. And so just like ref training, because I know some refs, because I play some basketball still at my advanced age, and I've hung out with these refs, and I was like, how'd you get into refs? Like, why'd you do this? Why don't you just want to keep playing basketball instead of yelling at people for bad foul calls? Because it's got to be brutal, because everyone thinks you're wrong all the time, right? You get the call right, the other people are saying you got it wrong.
And anyone who watches an NBA game can one of the takeaways you'll have is, wow, the refs are, they're not very they're not exactly bipartisan, and they're just not seeing everything clearly.
I wonder if they go back after the facts and then they have, like, let's review the tape with our ref association to see how good we are at getting this.
And I would imagine, I don't know what the ref training entails, but I would imagine it's probably heavy on the rules. Hey, let's get you in the rules, and less heavy on let's show you. Maybe they don't even do this. Let's show you some fast action, and now you pick out what's going wrong here. Okay, maybe there's a bit of that. I can imagine maybe a little bit of that, but why not amp that part of the training up? Why not make that a focus? Maybe with some whatever training these kendo referees are given, maybe a little dose of that for NBA refs, because what they're kind of looking NFL, a cornerback's being called for holding on a receiver, pass interference. That's
a tough gig. I couldn't imagine. I've never had to even in a rec game ref anything, but you're like, it's got to be so tough, because on football there's 22 people out there you're trying to watch for, and granted there's 4 or 5 refs, and so they're watching different sections, but that's still like 4 or 5 plus people per ref that they've got to watch and see everything that's going on at full tilt, people running full speed. I don't envy that job. And that's why I was asking my buddy that was a ref, I was like, why did you want to do this? Because everyone just hates you all the time. Like, you can't get it right. You can't get it right.
At the ref, it's a thankless job, really.
Super
thankless. At the end of the day, it's a totally thankless job. Now, those kendo referees, one could make the argument, well, they're standing still, so you can make those calls. They do kind of shift around, though, depending on where the sword fighters kind of move, because
the best angle.
Yeah, I guess they want to profile the entire time. Now, to translate this, the NFL and the NBA, those refs are on the run. They're moving back and forth, so
they're trying not to get smushed.
It is a bit of a challenge. So but I think some of these principles could be learned. I don't think it's out of the range of possibility to improve.
So maybe in the off season, they go to Japan, and then they go to some like high school kendo matches.
100%. I mean, wouldn't that be whatever that costs? The NBA and NFL should send their refs over there for that sort of training. Just 2 weeks in Japan, the refs would have a great time, eat up some of the culture. I'm sure. Why not learn a new sport while you're there? I mean, it would be a win-win for everybody. And then the fan at home wouldn't have to sit through these refs standing over a laptop or a tablet for 5 minutes trying to figure out if the guy touched his ankle with his pinky. Like, I'm tired of it, man.
What if you can get robots and cameras to ref the game in the future? They can like see the people. It's in high definition.
Yeah,
you can see if the contact was made.
Sure,
they know if you stepped out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
That seems possible, right?
Well, I think if you do that, you take away from a little bit of the nuance that you get with the human element.
Sure, you can't get texts anymore from yelling at the ref.
Sure, there's some things that I like about having it be a person.
Okay,
still,
interesting.
That I would
Let's
like
hear about
to,
that. What do you like about the
keep.
human fallible ref that makes mistakes?
Well, what do I like about it? I don't know. It's not what I like about it. It's what I don't like about having it done by robots, or it just seems too Orwellian for me.
Okay.
It's too like Brave New World for me. I want the human element there still because it's traditional. It's always been that way. And maybe I'm just holding on to tradition there.
You're just a purist.
I don't like the idea of it all being done by mechanics. I just don't.
Okay, so envision this in a world. I haven't gone down this rabbit hole yet, but imagine you start playing in a league, or you're watching a league where they never get the calls wrong. You don't get LeBron James flopping. You don't get people exaggerating their hits to draw a foul, and that people just play, knowing that they're getting it right every time.
Well, I mean, see, this is why I think the training can be implemented, better training. I mean, I just gave as an example, I just discovered referees that are operating on a whole other level that I don't think we thought was possible. And so I don't see what's wrong with pushing what we currently have to that level. Now, and one of the ways you could do that is pay more. These referees don't make much money. It was only recently that some of them could stop doing their off-season job. Some of them were postmen in the off-season. That in the NFL that was very common. Now I believe recently the latest contracts allow them to kind of live a little bit more comfortable of a life, but still not. I don't believe they make six figures even. Huh. So why wouldn't you these athletes are making gazillions of dollars, pay the referees an insane amount of money.
Yeah.
And give them the training, and they're gonna. You pay them enough? They're not gonna say no to a month-long intensive kendo sword training. It's like, hello, we're paying you. Go do it. There's a way to improve.
This is continuing education for you.
This is a way to improve the infrastructure that we already have, in my opinion. And in the cases that and if it does become an issue, we always have the replay to go to. But let's make a situation where we only go to that if it's absolutely necessary, like a challenge.
Yeah.
Go to the replay. Let's not just look at everything here. We trust the humans. They've had the training. We trust them enough where we're going to go with everything unless we have a challenge. I mean, in other words, we trust them enough where we will never go to a replay unless there is a challenge, and then it'll go to replay. But for the most part, they get everything right. There's a way to do that. There's a way, and we should strive for that. I like the human element, man. I like I don't know. I just remember as a player, I like that. I like going up to bat, chatting with the ump, chatting with the ump on the bases. There's something cool about that, man. I just like that. I don't want that to come out of it.
I feel like they get it wrong less in baseball. True or false?
Well, I mean, I don't know. There's certainly more calls in baseball if you include the balls and
close
strikes.
Plays at each plate. Yep.
So percentage-wise, they probably do a better job if you incorporate all those balls and strikes with the other stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's a slower paced game too. We could argue the only fast-paced play that they have to really battle with or grapple with is a call at the plate, a call at a base, a slide tag. That's really the only time where you're like, oh, fuck, where it's even close to let's say a call in football, helmet to helmet, which
But there's an ump at each base, right? There's an ump at each base.
So there's an ump at each base, correct? And so they all have that. They should all have that.
There's a lower ratio of people to watch. It's like
there's a lower ratio of people. There's not a pile.
Yeah.
They are running within a structure path. So you can position yourself as an umpire to be where you see. Angle. So a sliding play at the plate, always coming from the left. Two people, the ump can get in position pretty much. The ump knows where to go before it even happens. In the NFL, the play can happen anywhere in bounds. You don't know where it's going to happen. You have to, you have to figure it out. You have to kind of move. It's a moving target often. And so, it's more of a challenge in a sport like that. I think baseball probably gets it right more because of these limitations on movement, limitations on number of people participating in a play,
basketball, football, hockey, those would be hard.
Hockey. Yeah. Imagine. So hockey, another paced, like absolutely having highly skilled referees, supremely valuable in that sport. 100%. You could even, someone could argue soccer as well. I mean, look at all the flopping and crap that goes on in soccer.
That's true.
People want their soccer to be better refereed as well. I'd imagine. I'm not a big soccer fan, but you hear about the kind of flopping culture that soccer has become. I would imagine that could use a little bit of an improvement as well. So even in soccer, for those,
they could all use some improvement. You know what's interesting is when you mentioned this about the refs, I was for some reason thinking about auctioneers. You know the guys that like rattle them up, like, hey,
sold.
Yeah, they go to auction like university and training for this. And I don't think they do the same type of thing for refs. Because I remember meeting a guy that was auctioning off properties, houses, right? This is during the last foreclosure thing that was happening. And he, auctioned off like 600 houses in a day. And I'm like, holy moly, that was a lot of work. Like, do you just take like a week off for your voice? Because I don't know how you could maintain that pace of auditory sounds for that long. But these dudes start off auctioning livestock to practice.
Then move up to
cars, and they move to
higher
houses
priced,
and then
higher priced items,
and stuff like that. Yeah. So you kind of have to graduate, and it's I think it's the same thing with like refs. Like I think you start off with maybe middle school or high school games, then you go up to like maybe you get college, and maybe if you're really good at college, they pull you up to the pros.
Yeah, I'd imagine. I don't know exactly how it works. I should have looked into it for our episode. I just don't know.
There might be scouts. There might be scouts for refs. I'm like, I like that guy. This guy. This black and white, and let's get him out there on the
Did
big
you see
screen.
Did you see the way he ejected that manager? That was sweet. More of that. You're out of here.
Because the hand signals are always good. When they're like making their symbols and flashing. Yeah, it's good because they they're trying to get it for the big screen too, and you might not get the audio, so the hand signals have to be good. So it takes some training. It's an enviable job. So any refs or umpires or officiants that are out there, kudos to you for doing your job, and sorry for giving you crap that you always get it wrong.
Yeah, I've given umps crap. I mean, I still do in softball, and I feel bad because those guys are getting like $50 a game, and it's just like, man, I'm sorry. But I mean, sometimes it's playoffs, and sometimes I get intense.
Yeah, that was a ball. You were off by a few inches, and it was a ball. Should have walked.
Sometimes I'm just like, I mean, and you could probably appreciate this. I don't know if your listeners are softball fans or play softball, but it's like sometimes, dude, get out from behind the dish and get closer to the base to make the call. You're calling a close play at second base. You didn't even move behind the plate. You didn't even come out to the pitcher's mound to get a better view of it. Like, really? You're going to sit your fat, lazy ass back there and make a call at second, a close call at second? It's playoffs, man.
Yeah.
Try. Yeah. Fucking try, bro.
Hey, do it for the grandmas. I've played in slow pitch tournaments where you have to get it over 6 feet, under 12 feet on the pitch. I usually pitch because I got a good, nice, consistent arm.
Damn, you pitch that? It's so hard. I'm so impressed with the high arc pitches.
It's so hard. And I'll get it right most of the time. But then you like walk a player or two. I'm like, this is so hard. You want me to throw it over 6 feet, under 12, and then land it right on the plate? Like,
dude, it's one of the hardest things in softball. I've always appreciated the high arc pitchers.
It's so tough. And I'm like, give me a little leeway. Come on. Like, can we make it a little bit fatter of a plate? You've got plenty of time to shimmy around. As a hitter, I know I move my feet a little bit so I can make that hit. So like,
yeah, but they don't got wiggle room, man. They make that box for you, and I mean, if you're out of the box with your throw, I mean, they got it really easy in that way. Like it's just if it lands in there, it's a strike. If it doesn't, so.
well,
But
they'll get you in the height. I've been called for being too low sometimes.
They get the nuances, the height area. They can kind of call it if they feel like it. They may just let it all go in one night. The low ones, the high ones, they may just let it all go. That's when you can bring some. It can become arbitrary for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Jonesy, that was an interesting conversation. I never really considered refs and how much they vary from sport to sport. I kind of universally accepted that they were bad and underappreciated.
Yeah, I mean, and fortunately for me, you're very versed in sports and you're a sports fan, so this was perfect. I didn't even know that you were, and you play softball as I do, so this really worked out. You could appreciate this theory then that I brought. I hope your audience, at least those who are sports fans, can appreciate this theory.
Well, listen, because if you haven't been on the receiving end of wearing a jersey and getting a bad call and wanting to mouth off to a ref, you probably have kids that had. Right?
Yeah.
You're watching your kid's game, like, are you serious, ref? Because you're yelling, because if your kid might not be old enough to speak up for themselves. So you're going to let the ref know as a dad.
Correct. As you should. And it's part of being a dad. It's required in the contract that you must argue with the umpire if he calls your kid out on a strike 3 that's at his neck.
Right. And if you're not ejected at least once or twice per year, you're not dadding hard enough.
Yeah. What are you doing, huh? If you're not banned from the field and you got to watch from your car, like, are you really a dad at this point? Well, the other thing is too, we can all appreciate this, whether we're fathers or not. It's slowing down the game. This is entertainment. I'm tired of the game being stopped. I'm tired of calls being reviewed again and again.
There's some huge reversals, though. If it's your team that gets the reversal, don't you want to wait that extra 7 minutes?
If it's a major, if it's that important that reversal wins me the game, then I would hope that at that time that it was reviewed, everybody understood the weight of it. And yes, we took the time to review it. There's no need to review all these calls leading up to that, though. You're really going to look at the replay in the first quarter of an NBA game. There's no need for it, man. There's no need for it. There's no need to, in the first quarter of an NFL game, to be watching a pass interference for 5 minutes on the screen before you make a call. It's the first quarter, man.
Well, at least there's the penalty. They take away your timeout if you're wrong.
Yeah,
I like that. Like, I like when the coach can be like, challenge, and then you're like, you screwed up. There goes your timeout.
Yeah, they take a timeout away. But like, what about the rest of us? Think about what they're taking away from me, man. Like, instead of watching a game in under 3 hours, it's now 3.5 hours, and I got places to be.
Yeah. yeah, exactly.
It's all about me and my time, man.
Right. It is rude. It's like having a wasted meeting that took an hour. It's like, it didn't just take 1 hour. There's 20 people in that meeting. That took 20 hours.
Yeah, the slowing down of these sports as a fan and a spectator of sports, it's just something that in the past, because of technology in the past 5 years, it's getting out of hand, in my opinion. I'm providing a solution for this.
Well, it's also because we've gotten less patient.
Uh-huh.
We want entertainment all the time. No, I don't have time for you to review this. Get it right the first time, because I want the next play to happen right now.
But also, I remember watching games when they weren't this long. I remember it.
Yeah.
You remember watching football games that weren't this long?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it would just go, man.
Be an hour and a half, 2 hours most.
I mean, what about that?
I think it's advertising time too, right? They like that a little bit. They're like, they stretch in the ads.
Sure. Well, I mean, this is how they get paid, right? This is the contract. It's all about the TV money and all that. So they have to do that. I get that. But you don't need to tack on an extra 20 minutes a game for referee related bullshit is my point.
Yeah. They got to get some kendo training. Get your kendo training, get back here, get at least 1% better at your calls, make 1% less reviews.
Now, remember, I said it here first, the kendo training for the refs. This was my idea.
The ticket to the Refs Association.
Don't be stealing.
It to be a win-win.
Your listeners out there, don't be stealing my idea and then go to the commissioner and be like, hey, Adam Silver, I'm a genius. Here's what I came up with. And next thing you know, you're the liaison to Japanese kendo refereeing.
Would you take that job?
Yeah, I'd take that job in a second. I would quit everything and I would do that. I would go over there. I'd negotiate with them. I'd get a translator and I'd facilitate the influx of
This is kind of like ref quality control, continuing education job.
And then I'd take them out for noodles in the evening and karaoke and all that. I'd show them the town. I would do that. I would absolutely do this.
Well, I think this is your cover letter. We'll just send this over to the right people. And this is your cover letter.
Do you know anybody? I mean, do we know?
Everyone knows everybody. I mean, someone knows Kevin Bacon, and he probably knows the right person.
Does anybody out there know Commissioner Goodell? Could you put in a good word for me? Because I can solve all of his problems right now.
Yeah,
and make him look good.
Well, Jonesy, hey, thank you for spending so much time with me on my show. I loved it. This was great. I like that our theory that kendo refs are epic at their job with these lightning fast strikes. Of my representation. Honestly, when I was trying to eat my poke bowl right before we jumped on. I almost got a paper cut from this thing. I was like, I'm way too fragile. Not a paper cut. Like
you're just too fast.
A splinter. Yeah, I got a little cut right there, and I was like, it didn't go into my skin. But that's why people are always going like this, like trying to get. Oh, there goes.
Yeah. They're trying to they shave him down. Wow, you eat poke too. Look at you all bougie today. This is amazing. Treat yourself, man. Treat yourself. That's good. I love poke.
The option, so I was gonna get it. Hey, Jonesy.
How you knew. Go ahead.
Oh, that was it. I was gonna wrap up the show.
Awesome. Let me tell your listeners where they can hear Weird AF News.
Please.
Weird AF News podcast. Anywhere you listen to podcasts. Pretty easy. Or I actually used some of my Patreon money and I spent and created a website. I just thought after 3 years of doing this podcast, I should probably make it legit. And I finally got weirdafnews.com. So you can also go there.
Awesome. That's where I found you, because I was just like, let me click through some of these listens, and I like that you outline what your show is going to cover so I can pick my favorite weird topics that I want to hear about.
Yes, that's exactly why I do that. So you can kind of cherry pick, because there's 5 day a week episode. It's 5 days a week. Not everybody can commit,
That's a lot of news. You're like the CNN of weird news. I mean,
I'm the only guy doing a daily weird news show, man. I mean, why isn't this? Why I should be known more? This is.
You do all these shows by yourself? You don't ever want to have like a buddy on to just riff with?
I don't. I can't. It just you can't look at. I don't know. I've done podcasts with a co-host before, and just coordinating, recording 1 day a week with this person is a pain in the ass. How am I gonna coordinate 5 days a week with another person? It just can't be done.
Commitment.
It's just easier to. Yeah, and sometimes I have to, just record a couple in a day because I don't have time to do it the next day. I never really do it at the same time when I record.
Unfortunately, it's not timely. It's not like it's the weather. You're not doing like weird AF weather.
Correct. It doesn't have to be that timely. I can record, for instance, I have to work a day job tomorrow. So tonight I will record the episode for tomorrow because I'll be at work and I won't be able to do it. So, but I can then release it tomorrow, the normal time that I do in the middle of the day. So so you got to be able to, I got to be able to juke and have freedom. And with a co-host, I wouldn't have that kind of freedom.
Totally. I get it. Hey, Jonesy, thanks for joining us. Please check out his show, Weird AF News. And it's funny. It's great. And keep doing what you're doing, man. Appreciate you coming out and sharing your thing.
I loved it. Appreciate it.
Another great episode of I've Got a Theory. Please like, comment, subscribe. Catch you next time.